Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dojo Live. I'm Tulio Sragusa, broadcasting from Southern California. Today is Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. We have an amazing guest today. Before we introduce our guest, I want to welcome my co-hosts, Kim Lantis, who is in Montana today,
That's right.
and
Hi.
Carlos Ponce in Cuernavaca, Mexico. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another show.
Good to have you. Good to be here.
So we have Tye Caldwell, Dr. Tye Caldwell, who is the CEO and co-founder of ShearShare, as our guest today. And we're looking forward to speaking about something really important, especially if you're in business, and that is the value of consistency. But before we do that, let's get to know Tye a little bit. Please tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce
Thank you,
yourself to
guys.
the
I want
audience.
to say thank you for having me. Yes, Dr. Tye Caldwell, CEO and co-founder of ShearShare. A little background on me. I've been in the beauty and barbering industry for almost 30 years, licensed, and I've been a salon and barbershop owner for over 2 decades. And, I am glad to tell you that I have my doctorate in professional barbering and cosmetology. I have written a best-selling book called Mentored by Failure, and I sit on the advisory boards of many cosmetology and beauty schools. With that being said, I've just recently got elected to the PBA, Pro Beauty Association Advisory Council. You guys might not know what that is, but they help with the lobbying and all the things with the government and politicians. So when we had that pandemic and the beauty industry and barbering industry was deemed inessential, we were the ones that were talking to the lobbyists, letting them know that we have precautionary learnings and teachings and education from school. So to let us get back to work, and we can definitely put our stamp on just being precautionary and making sure sanitation is good. So a lot of those things we took care of. I as well have a son. He is in the Air Force Academy. So it's been one of those things. It's been a joy to be a father and a husband. And my wife is the COO and co-founder of ShearShare. One of the things that we always say is that how can husband and wives work together? Well, it's been pretty easy for me. I'm the seventh of 8 kids. I lived in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom with 5 generations. So I'm used to close relationships. I'm used to uncomfortable situations, and I deal with stress pretty easily. I think I can deal with a lot of negativity a little easier than some people. So being an entrepreneur since I was 19, I've dealt with the ups and downs. And when you're running the race as an entrepreneur, you see more negativity than positive because of all the learnings and the failures. And so when you do reach those significant endings and those chapters I call there, you tend to don't celebrate as much, but you recognize it and keep it moving. So I know how to deal with a lot of the things pretty well. What else do I like? I love being outside. I'm an outdoorsman. I love riding bikes. I love anything that allows me to continue to enjoy my youthful spirit. When we travel, I love traveling. We've traveled all over the globe except for Antarctica. I love climbing mountains.
Yeah, maybe not have much interest in being there.
Yeah, we love climbing mountains, and we just love doing a lot of things together. So me and my wife are each other's best friend, and just running the company together is just another chapter of enjoyment in our life.
That's
Oh my
awesome.
gosh, I love it, love it.
Excellent.
We all will definitely want to hang out. I wish we were doing this live somewhere over a cup of coffee or a drink.
I
Even better
know,
yet,
I know.
be so much better. Anyway,
It is live,
thank
just
you
not in
for
person.
joining us. So, tell us about ShearShare. What gave birth to this idea? The name. Tell us about the company, please.
Wow, this. You don't have as much time, but just in the briefly, like I said before, I've been in the industry for a long time. It was a problem that we were trying to just kind of solve for ourselves. Back in 2012, when we expanded and rebranded our own location, salon and barbershop, we had introduced ourselves to having more space. So we put some suites in our salon. We rebranded the name, and we realized that after having a full chairs pre-pandemic, that people were waiting to get to come to our salon and work, and we just didn't have enough space. So I expanded and realized that now we're coming into a whole new age where people are now wanting to be solopreneurs. They wanted to be their own business amongst themselves. They were running their own book of business. They didn't want to sign long-term contract or leases. So we just had a lot of space lying dormant. And so one day a young lady came to the salon and said, Dr. Caldwell, I see that you have a salon suites, and it's award-winning salon suites for like 3 years, and I really like the location. I like the ambiance. I really want to work here, but my only caveat is that I don't want to sign a long-term lease. I don't want to be a staff member. I'm moving to the southern sector of the city, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away. She had just got married, and so starting a new life on that side of town, and I'm leaving about 20 to 25 clients. Is there any way you can allow me to work in your salon and barbershop, on every other weekend so I can service these clients who don't need to travel to me because I don't want to lose them? I was like, well, I didn't know what to say. I was like, let me think about it. So at the end of the day, once the day was over with and we finished working, went home, told my wife about it. I said, you know what? I had this young lady, she wanted to work in the salon, and she doesn't want to sign a long-term lease. She doesn't want to work as an employee. She just simply want to work by the day. My wife looked at me and laughed, thought it was a joke. I said, well, I know the industry. I know that this lady was very authentic and genuine when she asked. I said, we're just collecting dust right now. We're not collecting any money. 0 to 0 is nothing. I'd rather collect something than nothing. And I went to work the next day, called her up and told her that I had made a decision to allow her to do that. And that's where, we started allowing her to utilize the space every other week. But that first significant time, she was just so enamored by the professionalism, by the space, and just being able to work by the day and not having any strings attached. And she loved the fact that she was working with people who were in the same licensed professionals like her and not having to work in someone's home, hotel. She really liked the experience. And she called me up the next day and she said, Dr. Caldwell, she said, I really need for you to help me do something. I was like, what is it? She was like, I have a few other places that I have been looking for that when I call salons, they just hang up in my face. I was like, why? She was like, well, they don't listen to me. They think it's a joke, just the same way you did. And she said, I need for you to kind of, be the person in the middle to kind of help me get into salons. I said, well, why are you wanting me to do it? She said, well, 2 reasons. You're a licensed professional, so you understand my needs. And she said, you have been really a great host in allowing me to come to your salon and barbershop. I was like, wow. She had a great reason. So I was like, well, how can I do this? She said, well, I have a list of 3 or 4 salons and barbershops that in location close to the clients that live by. And I was like, she's like, I don't want to call them. You call them for me. I'll pay you a premium price. You can kind of help me, I guess, come to an agreement with pricing. And I was like, wow. I said, well, let me try it out. I said, just in case those salons and barbershops owners say no, I'm gonna have to kind of look and geolocate some other salons in the nearby area. And so that's what I did. But when I called those salon and barbershop owners, the unique thing about it, and to my surprise, they all were willing to do it based on my story, based on my experience. Now, they did have apprehensions, the same ones I had. Are you licensed? Are you real? Are you going to fit into my culture? Are you professional? Are you what hours are you working? And so those were my apprehensions. Her apprehensions was having the right location. Can her clients be accepted there? Is it clean? Is it a good, a location for people to find it? Things like that, most people don't even think about. Location, location, location. And, I called all the salon owners. The only thing was they didn't know what a price was. Some were commission-based salons. Some had commission-based and independent booth rental contracting price points. And so I was able to work with them based on all the things that we talked about: location, ambiance. Are they able to utilize back bar? Are they able to let her have free towels? How long she's going to be there? What type of stylist that
so
she
what
is?
point did
So many things.
What point did ShearShare, say that 10 times fast, right? ShearShare go technical. At what point did you realize, wow, okay, I need something to help me manage all this? And what was the experience of getting that done like?
Well, after her friends had saw that she had been going on social media, posting that she's doing all these experiences, they wanted to know. And so we had been doing this 3 years manually, and they were saying, man, please help us. So we started helping them. And so we find ourselves 3 years in the game, manually matching stylists to empty locations and empty space. And at this time, I'm finishing up my best-selling book and finishing up my doctorate. And my wife is working at Oracle, running digital demand across 5 continents. It was just too much for us. We were doing it for fun, making a little money, but it just became too much. We're helping, hundreds of stylists now. And, we was like, what can we do to kind of push these stylists to a platform that's going to help them? I go to Google, she goes to Google, and we just kind of type in some search terms, and nothing came up. We saw old furniture chairs, I guess just anything that didn't make sense to the location of what we were doing and the platform that we were utilizing at that time manually. And we looked at each other and said, what would it look like if we built this platform ourselves? And at this time, she was going back and forth to Redwood City, and she had met a young lady named TD Lowe, who is actually our advisor today. She's a founder of 45 Ventures. And I said, talk to that lady, because I remember you saying that she was speaking about startups. And at that time, we didn't know that we were building a startup. And we called her up that night, and she gave us about 30 minutes of her time, and we told her what we had been doing for the last 3 years, and if this was a good idea. And if it wasn't a good idea, we was going to squash it, going about our lives, do what we've been doing, and just move forward. And so we was talking to her for the first, I guess, 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, you heard a thump, and she had dropped the phone, and she said she had walked around her desk, and she picked it back up, and was like, what happened? She was like, guys, you guys have $1 billion idea. How are you guys going to be able to manage this?
All right, Dr. Caldwell, before we go into the details, let me pass this on to Carlos. Let's introduce the topic. Let's go right into it. And I'm going to mute myself for a few seconds because the landscapers are here, and I'm going to close the windows. Carlos, please introduce the topic today, and let's get right into it.
My pleasure, Tulio, and thanks, Dr. Tye Caldwell, for being our guest today. Okay, so the value of consistency. This is the topic that our guest chose for today. We're going to be discussing how ShearShare drives customer confidence by delivering a reliable experience. So that's the topic. The first question that I have for you today, Tye, is why did you choose this particular topic, and why did you feel it was relevant maybe for this day and age? Let's start with that, please. Thank you, and welcome to the show.
Consistency. I think that so many times we forget that the root of a lot of success comes from consistency. We can do something right one time. We can do something right 2 times. We can be supportive, and we can be great salesmen. We can be great business people, and great at professionalism. But can you do that over a course of not just days, not just months, but years? Consistently the same time, hitting the same target. And even if you're not hitting the bullseye, hitting around that. We know that failure is going to be a part of the process. Every day is going to be different. That's the beauty of life, having a different 24 hours every day, but consistently having a positive set point, going about that process the same way all the time. So consistency is one of the driving forces that allowed me to be successful and continue to build not just a team, but a platform, and be successful in everything that I've done thus far.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. Kim, do you got a question, Kim? Before I jump into with my own, please.
So, in which ways is ShearShare being particularly consistent, and how are you making sure that happens?
Well, being a B2B platform that, most people look at B2C platforms. You think about Uber, you think about Airbnb, you think about TaskRabbit, you think about Uber Eats. That's B2C, and so you know that you want to satisfy the customer, but the customer also has to choose the type of driver they want, the type of host they want to stay at, and it's a reciprocal relationship. But when you're a B2B, you're 2 businesses, and you both need each other for a certain particular reason. And we know that if I get into an Uber and something goes wrong, I can't blame the driver. I got to blame the platform. And so we know that as a business, as ShearShare, we know working for the host and working for the licensed professional, they're both going to be pretty apprehensive, but we want to make sure that they're comfortable with what we're building and the platform as a whole. So how can we do that every day? So one of our thing is, being that I'm in the industry for almost 30 years, I know both sides of the marketplace. So how do you make both sides happy? Customer service, making sure that the host is happy and they're being presented with everything that they want, and then the licensed professional making sure that they're going into a desired space that is going to be fitting not just for them but for their customers as well. So having that great customer service, making sure that as they're building that surety and you got that insurance in yourself as a platform, you're giving them the opportunity to build trust, and that integrity means a lot to me when you're building a company. So I don't mind pulling the fault to the platform, because in the end, that's what the fault needs to fall on.
That's fair.
Okay, so go ahead, Kim.
No, please, Tulio.
Forgive me for oversimplifying. I like to keep things very simple. But it sounds to me you've created like the Airbnb of salons, right? I'm a host, just like an Airbnb host. Yeah. And you provide access to the various. It's an interesting model. You're providing you're actually negotiating the various properties that that host can work out of. So you're going a step further from what a typical Airbnb environment is, and essentially are providing a vehicle for these hosts to bring their services in the local area of where their customers live. So instead of expecting the customer to come to them, you're setting it up where they can go where they are based on locality, a geolocation. That's a pretty complex platform. How did you go about figuring out the model to make all that work?
Well, two things. Two things I didn't share, and it's a fun fact, is that people respectfully call us Airbnb. Just to kind
I
of
love it.
turn off Airbnb.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And
Airbnb.
it's kind of easy. I think that most of the time it's kind of like a scientist, it's kind of like a mathematician, it's kind of like an architecture. They know what they know because they do it. It's the second part of their brain. This industry we know. I know both sides of the marketplace. I play on both sides of the marketplace as a salon owner and barbershop owner, and I'm also a licensed professional for 30 years. So a lot of the things and experiences that I've gone through, a lot of the new salon and barbershop owners, a lot of the new stylists, and a lot of the licensed professionals who've been in the industry for a long time, I understand both sides. And so it wasn't hard. But when we decided to build a platform, we needed to do it from a simplicity thought process. So at that time, my wife and I had been eating a lot of Chipotle. And so we was at Chipotle one day, and I drew all the screens of how we was going to walk, how the process was going to work as we were building our app on a Chipotle napkin that we still have today. And so not having that technical background, after we talked to the TD, she was able to turn us to a third-party engineering firm, and we handed them over that drawing, and they built from that spec, our MVP.
Nice. And how's that working out right now? Is it on demand, or how? In other words, how's real time?
I got a question here.
I'm sorry if you can hear me, Carlos. Carlos might be delayed.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I'm just going to finish the question. How do you go about when someone's booking an appointment? Is it real time they can do this, or how in advance? In other words, can I book an appointment like in the next few hours, and the barber or the hairstylist will show up at the particular salon that I want him to show up on, or do I need to plan it like days in advance?
Yeah, it's definitely on demand, and it's by the day. So you can book 24 hours in advance, and the host will accept depending on how fast they get it. So someone may, let's just go 11 o'clock in the daytime. Someone may say, okay, well, I want to book tomorrow at 12. Well, it's daytime, so that person is going to see that booking really quickly, that notification. But that we think about at 11:30 at night, somebody might be a little bit slower. So the support team will reach out to them and let them know that they have a notification. But it's 24 hours in advance, and they get a chance to put in all their information of what their needs are, and they get a chance to do chat once they do all the booking, and the host accepts. They're able to chat between each other then about what their needs are going forward.
Tye, I got a question, and this takes me back to recent conversations we've had with professionals in the health sector. And these have, just as an example, that we have spoken to, let's say, physicians that have no background in technology, maybe not even an interest, like a strong interest in technology, but for some reason, due to their daily experiences, their interactions with their patients and their clients, they at some point realize that there's a very much unavoidable tech component that must be faced, and they end up becoming what we call tech entrepreneurs. So this has sort of been like accidental situations or interactions or endeavors. Now, in your case, was this something similar? Like, I think you mentioned that you found yourself like in the middle of a situation where you maybe saw an opportunity to solve a need or solve a problem. But did you ever get to a point where you said, aha, there's an opportunity for me in tech to become a tech entrepreneur, so I'm going to go ahead and pursue it, like right now? Or was it just accidental, or was it organic? What was the journey becoming a tech entrepreneur? What has it been like?
It's definitely, I will say I stepped into it. It wasn't something that I knew I was going to do. I think what has helped us is being experts at what we do and
Mhm.
working with the right people, having the right relationships, and building our company in Silicon Valley, where it's very
Mhm.
serendipitous there to find people that really want to help you. I never forget, we cold emailed Joe Gebbia, of Airbnb, and he spent some time with us. He allowed us to come to the headquarters, and he gave us some opportunity to spend some time and talk to us about our platform, what we were building. But not
Mhm.
only that, it's going through YC Fellowship, which is the virtual program, and then winning Tech Co Startup of the Year, which was put us on a trajectory to go through 500 startups. It gives you
Mhm.
the opportunity to learn the foundation of being a tech entrepreneur. Those things they don't come second nature. Those are things you got to learn. You got to learn
Mhm.
certain things. As an entrepreneur, I had to learn certain things that I didn't know in tech that I'd always known in business. So
Mhm.
it was not as difficult because my mindset was already sliding into certain things that I could really understand. It's just in the tech part of it. But having engineers, hiring the right engineers, learning certain things, I don't need to code or anything like that. I just need to know what those engineers are doing and how they can build
Mhm.
accordingly. And that's really what allows me to continue to be a tech entrepreneur outside of something that I didn't go to school for.
Right.
Great.
So
Great. Thank you, Dr. Caldwell.
going back to this
Go
idea
ahead.
of consistency, I think consistency and taking care of our hair is something that we really value, right? It might
Yeah.
seem simple, but it's a way that we kind of identify ourselves. So a bad haircut makes for a really bad day and a bad couple of weeks, maybe even months, depending on what has happened. So you already talked about how you offer your services and consistent services as a B2B business, but how are you utilizing tech to help people get consistent hair care? Are you able to have like a rating for the stylists, for the salons? What does that look like?
Well, definitely. We definitely have ratings and reviews. That keeps everybody trustworthy. That keeps everyone happy. And everyone is going to play fair. When you have ratings and reviews and anything, people want to make sure that they can go to another salon. If a salon host that's never had a stylist, they want to be able to say, hey, you know what? I had a great experience here. And the host want to be able to say, this stylist was a great professional. And so people want to play fair, but I think that too, we're not talking about just an individual who's hopping in a car or staying in someone's home. Both sides are professional. So we're connecting to people that really know what the relationship entails and why it just really works and it's why it marries together so well. But the consistency, but as far as information, a lot of that information that people just do manually, we implement it into our tech. So things that people need, education. We've just started. We got a partnership with Lloyd's of London where we are giving insurance on demand. So you can a licensed professional can purchase $5 insurance and get $1 billion coverage. And every ShearShare host has $1 billion coverage just being a ShearShare host on the platform, undergirding already the insurance that they have. So things like that make people think about going off platform. You continue to allow people to understand that you need insurance, whether you feel like you're going to use it or not, or whether you're going to need it or not, is very important. But also making sure that the licensed professional know that they can use the back bar. They know that they can get a suite, or they know and they can show their IG channels, and a host might want to see their professional work. So all those things are implemented within our platform. So consistency is definitely needed. And if you're speaking the language, if you're doing everything right, then you give people the opportunity to know that you're building an ecosystem. There's a lot of platforms out there that are B2C. There are calendar apps. There are booking apps. But no one is doing the B2B side of it because you really have to know what you're doing. You just can't get two random engineers or a CPA to build something like this because so many things can go wrong. You want to make sure if you're building something like this, you got to really come from this industry.
I just love how you've disrupted a market or an industry that's as old as time. Many people are like wondering, how do I reinvent myself? How do I stay current? And I'm just blown away that you tackled this on and reinvented something that has traditionally been a certain way. So my question is, how have you gone about tackling marketing to salons to join the fold, to stylists to become hosts, and obviously the end customer, which makes all this possible, right? How are you guys tackling this sort of three-legged stool that makes up the ecosystem of the platform?
That's an awesome question. I think that when you think about the industry, it's a century-old industry more so. And the industry has been the same for so many years. You have commission-based salons. Years later became independent contractors. You think about Madam C.J. Walker. She started the independent contracting when she started her line of products. When you think about, barbers being tonsorial artists, used to do bloodletting and dentist work and cutting hair, and they separated from dentists and being barbers. When you think about the product use, when you think about the social media and tech coming in and evolving, there's commission-based, salary-based, and employee-based. And so we deal with a lot of franchises. We deal with a lot of mom pops. We deal with a lot of individuals. We deal with a lot of solo salon suites where there's a bunch of suites inside of a building. So we understand that we still have to educate people, but it's best to be in front of the wave as the wind is blowing the water than to be behind the wave. And so we know where the industry is going. We know what people are doing, and we know that the brick and mortar would never go anywhere. But we also know that the stylist book of business, they own their own book of business. So no matter if you do go to a sports clips and that person, you may want to go to the same barber every single time, even if you go there 2 weeks later because you like that particular barber. And that's a franchise, and they don't own clients. They just have a spot open when they can get open. You'll be like, he may have 3 people in front. You might be like, I'll wait for those 3 people to finish. Then you may have your own licensed professionals, an independent contractor that you're in their book of business all the time. Then you think about the solopreneurs who are in salon suites and barber suites where they are their own business amongst themselves. So educating people, letting them know that the solo entrepreneur can use ShearShare to utilize their space. The solopreneur can also use ShearShare to book space on the salon if they want to go outside of their respective area. The commission-based person can also use it when they can't color hair or when they can't do services not offered at their salon. And also the franchise employees can use it as well, because if you go into a barbershop and they can just cut hair and they can't color or they can't braid or they can't do a weave or anything like that, they're going to have to use that on weekends for clients that really want to utilize some services. And we also respectfully allow the salon owners and barbershop owners and spa owners to utilize their space, because 40% of salon and barbershop space goes unused every day. You may see 1 chair, you may see 15 chairs, but every barbershop you're going to go to, you're going to see an empty chair. Every salon you go to, you're going to see an empty chair. The pandemic shocked everybody. So what happened was the disruption came with the salon and barbershops and the spas closing, but those licensed professionals were still working underground until they lifted the ban. So what we know for sure is those licensed professionals are businesses, they are brands. We just got to educate them and allow them to have that acumen to build their business, but understand that there's an ecosystem like ShearShare that's really helping them out.
All right. So I'm not an expert in your business, but I will say you're in the relationship business because in the world of temporary alliances, temporary relationship with nothing latched long term, there's one type of relationship that seems to be long term, and that's between the stylist and the customer. The loyalty and commitment that exists there is unbelievable. So you're enabling that relationship to continue no matter where the stylist goes.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on time. Just some final words of wisdom. You're not a first-time entrepreneur because you started your business almost 30 years ago, but as a tech entrepreneur, is there anything new, any nuances you've learned about yourself tackling this industry in this space that you'd like to share with us?
When you don't know something, just shut your mouth up, get in the room, be quiet, and just take it all in. I think most of the time we try to do too much. We try to ask too many questions. It's best to sometimes put yourself in the dirt, water your spirit, and allow the information to come to you. And so I always tell people, if you ask too many questions, I may give you the answer why the question maybe before it comes out of your mouth. So it's just best to sit there, allow yourself to be insecure, allow yourself to be vulnerable, and just really focus. Because at the end of the day, I had to do that. I was so uncomfortable being in tech.
Wow, I love that.
Good for you.
Well,
I've got one final question, and this is a shout out to my hubby, who's a beard guy. What is your greatest beard care advice?
You got to treat your beard like you got to treat your beard like you treat your head. It's hair coming out of your skin. Moisturize, shampoo, condition, and keep it oiled. You have to keep it hydrated. So some people may say oil, depending on the type of ethnicity you are. Others may consider hydration, but you got to make sure your skin does not get dry because that beard is covering that skin. So you want to make sure that skin in there, you got to rub it all in, almost like kind of massaging it in. So keep your beard hydrated. Your skin will be healthy and happy.
Hey, Kim, Mike's gonna love you for that one, huh?
He
Yeah.
already uses beard
Just
oil.
Even
tell
more,
Mike
even more.
when he's eating guacamole, they just put his whole face in it. No, just kidding. No, that's cool. Carlos, thank Dr. Caldwell. It's been great to have you as our guest today. Stay with us as we go off the air. Carlos, what do we got coming up? Anything else the rest of this week, or what do we got coming up next?
Oh
week?
yeah. Thursday, Tulio, we're going to be speaking with Dario Santos, the Chief Revenue Officer of Dub, and the topic is going to be video messaging, the highest form of asynchronous communication. That's what we have for Thursday, and then of course everyone's encouraged and welcome on Monday to recap this week's shows in 10 minutes, folks. That's the recap show on Monday, same time right here on Dojo Live.
Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow. See you Thursday. Stay safe.
Thursday.